hams to you.
Yeah, hams.
Merry hams.
Merry Christmas.
Welcome to the Hockey Guys. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of our great listeners this first half of the college hockey season, and for making us the best college hockey show in the nation. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate that. The studio is full today. We have Eddie Christian. We have Coach Dean Wilson. And from Concordia College, the legend, the head coach, Kirk Olam's joining us today. And we have Dr. Phil Johnson.
Who?
Good morning, Dr. Phil.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Merry Christmas.
You're missing your very cold, brisk Hams beer, but you know how those things taste.
Well, that's true.
Eddie will have yours today, if that's okay.
And guess who I'm meeting this morning? I'm meeting Spencer, the magic guy at the board. He's going to teach us how to do podcasts.
Oh, Spence Jost, longtime
Yeah.
employee here at the studio and moved back home working for a local TV station now, a very large TV station. So, hey,
Say to Spencer.
Hey, and before I forget, I will. Before I forget, big shout out to Will Borgen. Got traded to the Rangers, and so that's the news that I know.
I think I got to be careful. Better spot. I'd rather see him with the Rangers.
He's
Big
kind of a
apple.
big city kid coming from Moorhead. He needs some spotlights and a little attention there in New York.
You know, that may be something New York needs is a little physical force on their team. They're a very talented team with not a lot of, should I say, guts, right? And Will Borgen's going to bring that toughness to that team.
The good news is he has a place to get traded to. If you're on the other side of that and you're not going anywhere, then you probably worry about life, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're exactly right.
Boy, going from the West Coast to the East Coast, from no rain to, or from rain back to rain, right?
Back to rain. Yeah,
To our
lots of people.
To our presenting sponsor, Valley Imports. The Hockey Guys appreciate you. Operation Valley Pre-Owned, your best practice leader in the region. Find your next vehicle at valleyimports.com. So thank you, Valley Imports. And Jeff, what do you think?
What do I think? Here's the question. 701-293-9000. Am I right? Hey, I got it right this time. 701-293-9000. The question going to Coach Dean Wilson first. What has surprised you in the first half of this season in college hockey?
Wow. You didn't even get me
That's
to...
deep. That's a deep
pretty heavy.
question. Oh, took me about a week to develop that question.
That's pretty heavy, you know. I don't know if there's been a lot of surprises other than there's been a lot more injuries. There's still the parity in hockey that I love. The parity is just, you know what? The olden days where you'd sweep somebody at home, right, what you're expected to do, that's not shaking out like it used to. You get teams splitting at home, splitting on the road, obviously. But I don't know. I mean, just some good teams out there. Michigan State, I don't know if I poofed them up early in the year this season. You know, the Gophers are the Gophers. You got teams out there, Maine's up there. You know, you got the the Boston schools. They're always tough, you know. Colorado College, they're doing well this year, which I'm impressed with them. UND, you know, we're UND people, yeah, but they've been banged up. You know, Coach Bear, we had him on last week, and he talked about how I brought up to him about the good and the bad with injuries. The bad is injuries, but the good is you forced to lengthen your bench of give guys an opportunity. So the second half of the season, not afraid to slide them in if you need them, you know, and that's important. And sometimes you'll find guys that go, you know, what kind of coaching did you do? You didn't know play this guy, you know, but they get an opportunity. So I don't know if I answered your question completely, but you know, people are picking it up a little bit. Wisconsin, Hastings, you know, he's picking it up a little bit. So it'll be interesting how it shakes out the second half. You know, no more auditioning, right? Guys got to get out and play.
Right. Eddie, Big Eddie, what is your view as to what has surprised you in the first half of the college hockey season?
Absolutely nothing. Listen to the coaches talk before the weekend. They talk about parity. Listen to the coaches talk during the weekend. They talk about survival. coaches create the environment they're in. They all want to be, I've said it for years, they all want to make sure they're at least 500. They keep their jobs, because if you go under 500, they question you. If you go over 500, you got to keep the run. Right now, all the coaches, there's no threat of a coach leaving college hockey. They're all just right where they want to be.
Eddie always makes it sound so simple, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's profound.
Yeah.
Doc Phil, same question to you, my friend.
You know, I think in looking at the MIAC, since Coach Olam is there, I think that's going to be a really strong battle for the second half of the season. I mean, you look at some of those teams and the games, too, one-goal games and very close, very competitive.
You sound like a coach.
Yeah, well, or maybe I am at some point. I don't know. No, I don't want to be a coach. I'd rather be an analyst.
It's fun sometimes. It's fun when you win, but you're exactly right about the MIAC and the parity. And again, across D1 level, the same thing. You look at, our schedule and results, for example. We start out hot with a couple of wins at Concordia, Wisconsin, and we go and we beat Eau Claire, lose to a very good River Falls team, 1-0. Brennan Boynton, former Fargo Forest goalie and Minnesota Gopher, was in the nets for River Falls, and we were right there, could easily won. And then on the MIAC play, we beat Augsburg. And you go to St. Mary's and Gustavus, close games, could have gone either way. Yeah. So the parity, it's what you love about hockey, but it's also tough when you're coming out on the wrong end as a coach. You're trying to control that, but you can only control what you can control. And sometimes a bounce or a call here or there can get you, but you just got to keep battling. It'll be fun the second half, though. 2025 should be good.
Hey, so along those lines, Kirk, I sent you those books. I don't know if you had a chance to read them yet, but so what do you think? What do you see in your players from a mental standpoint? Do you see that they're focused? Do you see, are they blocked? Are they, what do you see as a coach? Do you see anything right now as far as your players?
I mean, the goal is always to have them focused, and you'd love to think that you've done a good job of that. And sometimes you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I've got this figured out, doing great," and then you go out and revert back to some old habits and tendencies, and it's like, where did this come from, guys? Like we were rolling. Yeah. Let's just stick with the program, and then they bounce back. And then maybe you don't get a bounce or a call, and then it doesn't go right, or you get down by a goal early, and the panic button kind of hits, and you got to regroup and refocus. But there's times where it's, man, we're playing well, we're playing great, and we're getting grade A's, and we're hitting pipes or a big save against, and
shoot for the white stuff, coach. Shoot for the white stuff, coach.
You got to aim for the twine.
Don't play pipes in practice, because it becomes pipes in a game. Shoot for the white stuff.
I say, 10 push-ups if you miss the net and they're hitting the pipe. I'm like, hey, that's 10 push-ups. It didn't go in the net. Like, that's not a shot.
That's right.
Albert Hasberg used to say, aim for the twine. Look for the twine. Legendary war.
It's like my son's high school team. We played. They played Red River. Actually, beat Red River High School earlier this week, 7-3, and they had like 28 shots on net, and I can tell you the ones that didn't go in the net, every one of them hit the goaltender's belly button, and that goalie must have the sorest belly right now with all those shots coming.
Kind of like Mr. Wilson having to have all those kids kicking and screaming during Christmas season.
Yeah.
I have a gift. Man. I make kids from 3-year-old kids.
45 seconds.
3-year-old kids till seniors in high school. I make them all cry.
Hey, a little shout out to the listener that texted me, Vinny out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Thanks for listening to the Hockey Guys here on WDAY. Ham's Beer and Beverage Wholesalers, our intermission sponsor. So thanks to Ham's, still brewed in that true family-style tradition, using the purest water and the choicest barley, grain, and hops. And we'll be back on the Hockey Guys after this intermission.
Merry Christmas to one and all.
Hey, a little shout out up to the Warroad region, Dags. Happy birthday. Got caught on the wrong side of January 1st. A classmate, a teammate, and a kid out of Warroad having a birthday today. So I believe your father. So,
That's my dad, yeah. Happy
Dags,
birthday,
little
Dad.
happy birthday shout out.
Nice.
63 today, I think.
That would be correct because I'm 63 on Epiphany. Hey, there's a thought for you guys. Eddie was born on Epiphany. There's only two things in life, me and Jesus Christ. So good luck to you.
Yeah, quick story on Darren. Probably the highest winning percentage of any youth hockey coach in Warroad, I would say. I mean, he barely lost a game. He got the kids to work so hard and have fun. His winning percentage got to be up there, all-time greats in Warroad.
I think Mike Marvin may have himself ahead of him, but that's only
No
because
way.
he's keeping
No
his
way.
own stats.
Mike's a great coach, too, but I don't think he had him on the win percentage thing.
All right, I won't talk about Fort Francis International Falls.
All right.
I got to throw this out at you. We got Kirk Olam, the head coach at Concordia. I want to piggyback up Dr. Phil Johnson's thoughts about this mental toughness. When I coach, we used to have Wednesday. I used to call Coach Talk. No X's and O's, and we talked about different things. And you're just dealing with a different athlete today. How do you prepare your players for that mental side and things that you work on at Concordia?
I love having individual one-on-one meetings with guys. I just gave them all a self-assessment. Probably not as detailed as, the Herb Brooks one that we saw. Eddie was talking during the break about some different things I could try, but really just get to know them as people. Get to know them as people, how they're doing in the classroom, what their families are like, what their friends are like, what their hobbies are, a lot of off-the-ice stuff, and just try to kind of figure out what makes everyone tick, and it's going to be a little bit different. Some guys you got to push a little harder. Some guys you got to be more buddy with, and each guy's a little different, and finding that combo is tricky, but that's always the goal.
Bag of Snickers bars was a trick.
Yeah.
Which guys score goals for Snickers bars and which guys stay out of the penalty box, right, Wills?
For sure, but I have to smile because I know Chris Trakes. I worked with him, and I think of his son because Chris was very driven. He was fun to be around. He got things done. I'm assuming the apple from the tree. Triggsy's got to be the same way for you as a player.
Well, we got two of them. We got Carson now.
That's right.
Carson now as well came in as an 04 out of the North American League. So Caden's a junior, Carson's a freshman. They both work so hard. They work so hard, and they're so passionate, and they're skilled, and love those kids, and they battle. But they're passionate and fiery.
Chip off the old block because I love the dad, Chris. He's a worker, fellow Canadian. He's up from Winnipeg and just a great man. And I just smile when I watch his boys play, and they're driven and they worked hard.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. They're talented. They can shoot the puck, and they work as hard as anybody. In great shape, and good kids to have on the team. Yeah. They're heart and soul guys.
Hey, Jeff, back at you. That first question was like a softball. Wills was stammering, but I was prepared for that surprise question. So what's your next one?
Well, I'm going to ask this one both to the coaches. Kirk Olam, head coach at Concordia College. Dean Wilson, the legendary coach of Fargo South. We had Brad Berry on last week, coach of North Dakota hockey, and he visited with us about going after and almost getting into fisticuffs with head coach Brett Larson from St. Cloud in the second game of a very tight series where points needed to be obtained by North Dakota and also St. Cloud as for pairwise. And they were not just nipping with each other on the bench back and forth. They were very – Brad Berry was very furious. And it didn't surprise me that he was sticking up for his goalie and sticking up for his team. Something like that can actually turn the momentum, not just of the game, but your team the whole season that's left. Wills, did you ever get in a situation where I can't imagine with your very quiet demeanor that you have, did you ever
being Canadian
ever get into a situation like that where a coach got under your skin where you just said, hey, enough?
That wasn't my style. It's pretty calm and cool all the time. But,
and uncollected.
Yeah. I've done the walk of shame before where I'm escorted out of a rink. So I've done it about 3 times. And the next day when I cooled down, I was never proud of it. But there's a couple factors involved. You got to love a competitor. And like I said, I was interviewing somewhere else and about Larson and Barry. You're competitors. if I'm going against Concordia, I want to kill Olam's team. And you know what? At the end of the day, when you go out and we have a pop or two, we're competitors. I remember Surecliffe said to me, I said to him, God so-and-so's a jerk when he loses. He go, you ever been around you, Wilson? He said, you're terrible. But I've drawn it, and the boys like it too. You know, they go, you're sticking up for the team. And I remember John and a guy, I don't want to say the name, but the olden days you could put a backup goalie and warm him up and decide not to put him in for an extra timeout. And then they eliminated the rule because it was ludicrous, right?
It's like Coach Eads rule.
Exactly.
Were his initials Dave Morinville?
No, they weren't. And Dave's probably watching at his lake cottage, you know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
shout
they're
out
listening to
Coach
it.
Morinville.
But anyways, yeah, and I did that. And he'd come across the bench and he's jawing at me. I go, you want to play? I love to play. You know what I mean? I'm John Beck. I go, you were any good of a coach? You guys would be winning right now. You're terrible. Why don't they get rid of you? We're going after it, right? And the coaches are cheering. I go, stop. Or the players are cheering, right? Stop it, guys. It's not appropriate. I am not a role model. You know what I mean? But you got to love a competitor. I'm yelling in the mic here. I like that. I'm not going to armadillo on anybody if I think my team's getting screwed over. That's my job. Kirk, throw it out at you. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, more so in junior. So in Wilmer, we had some great battles. Granite City, I know those guys hated us, hated me. We got some big wins against them, took them out of playoffs. Alexandria, Jeff Krause, good guy, but man, he would get fired up. We were playing a military game, military appreciation night in Wilmer. We had to come from behind, big win. Our players were celebrating. He didn't really like how the players were celebrating at their bench as they were leaving the ice. Actually came over into our box, and I met him sort of there's just a little glass divider. Came right around the divider. Well, I was going through my mind. I mean, the refs and the players jumped in, and I took a little bit of the high road, but he came in, and we're yelling at each other. He gives me a shove. I start going back at him, and we get broken up. But yeah, it's fun to win, and I was doing like the crybaby thing. That's the only part. That's the only part that got caught on camera. Our camera guy missed the whole thing, other than me just doing the crybaby face on the walk out.
Yeah, the owner probably said, "Cut that tape."
Well, he owned both the teams.
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
By the way,
the boys loved it.
The Wild plant the flag before the game. Coach, I'm just going to throw this at you. Don't be afraid to plant the flag at center ice after you beat all your competitors the rest of the year.
That's a good move.
Draw a little attention to yourself, right? Look what happened at Ohio State when the flag was planted, right? NCAA is all excited over flag planting in football, but I don't believe there's a case yet in hockey, is there?
I don't know. I remember, wasn't it Terrell Owens went and did that? Put the football down in the middle of the field on somebody's logo and got in a big.
But I don't think it's happened in college hockey yet.
Oh, there you go.
We got to get a mini auger. Put a mini auger at center ice, right? Pop it in there, but. I'll give a shout out to a guy that played for me. He played for Eric Galt, and he'd go jaw at another coach. I remember a coach come up to me, you got to keep his mouth shut. He's always jawing at me. I go, he don't bother me any. You know what I mean?
Galty was good. Galty was good. I think he was in my same era. I was 09 to 13.
Yeah. He'd jaw. I go, Galt, knock it off.
He liked Wilson's veins.
Yeah, he liked to get me jacked up.
Yeah, he's a good golfer, too.
The guy that he was jawing at was usually his head coach, not the other team's head coach.
Oh, Scotty Bell used to get into it with everybody. Him and Goldsworthy, they both kind of looked the same. They had the shaved head look going, and then they'd kind of have a competition who could get more red in the face and whose top of their head could get redder, yelling at the refs, yelling at each other. There's some good battles. Scotty let the refs know when he wasn't happy. Let a lot of people. Great coach, though. Great guy.
Well, if you're going to ask your players to stick up for their teammates, then you better do the same thing, right? As a coach, you can't turtle or you got to stick up for your players. And again, my money was on Brad Berry, even though Brett Larson is smaller. He could have thrown a couple of quick ones, but just one hit from Coach Berry would have knocked him out.
I bet Lars is pretty tough. I know Lars quite, a little bit.
He's got an edge to a firecracker.
Oh, yeah.
They've kind of got similar personalities. If you were to profile them, they're going to come out the same, by the way.
Oh, that's going to be tough putting them together, right?
They both have a little smirk, right? It takes a little while for the fuse to go. Bubs, right? Like we used to go at Bubs because my goal in life was to get Bubs to go off. Gino may come up and say, hey, Bubs, got to get Bubs stuff. So it takes a while to get Bubs, but once he goes, it's good to see that he has that ability to really go off, right?
Well, any fight I've ever been in, I played juniors in Thunder Bay, and any fight I've ever been in, I always laugh because I'd go in the locker room, I go, oh, I hammered him. And they go, oh, he killed you, eh, Wilson?
Well,
you never never lose a fight, right?
No, you never
you know,
lose.
you
Gotta be all
talking
in.
about juniors. I'll interrupt you. We're almost done with this period, but I was up in Humboldt, Saskatchewan, playing juniors and bench clearing brawl. And you talk about mothers up north in Saskatchewan. They were on the ice hitting us with purses.
And we'll be
Hey,
back.
my mother's from there.
And we'll be back.
Yeah, what team she play on?
Thanks to Citywide Electric. Actually had the opportunity to swing by and visit their Christmas party for a minute last night. So, again, we appreciate the intermission sponsor. If you need any repair, installation, business, any project to have electrical, reach out to Citywide Electric. That's citywideenergicnd.com. We'll be back here on the Hockey Guys.
You remember dancing to this song?
The Knack. I got the album.
The
if you want
next
to borrow
dancer
it.
performing here on the dance night is Dean and Ann Wilson.
It sure is fun when your kids come in and say, hey, Dad, I got my best Christmas present ever. It's going to be actually a record player. Do you know what that is? Right, Wills? You're at that age now. Your kids are buying record players to play your old albums.
I don't know what you're talking about, Eddie.
Well, I'll tell you this.
That happens with age.
And Doc Phil, you know this for that. You know the truthfulness of this. You know, when Wills was at University of North Dakota playing football, he was one tough guy. Put 4 guys in the hospital playing football and 3 in the maternity ward.
Perez.
Okay, so let's circle back here a little bit.
Thank
Change
you.
the subject,
Thank you,
right?
Phil.
Hey, you're cutting out a little bit.
Exactly.
Are you in your car?
Yeah, I am. That's not where we want to go. So, Kirk, I've got to. I mean, what you do with those guys, I think, is really important. You know who did that as well, and I witnessed that firsthand, was Dean Blades. And I think you get to understand those players maybe just a little bit better, and hopefully start to figure some things out. But I'm going to have you read those books because, you know, the circle theory does make a lot of sense because sometimes there's these unforeseen things that you just don't uncover sometimes, you know, whether it was a bad experience, you know, early on, or, you know, maybe there's somebody that's in their quote circle that's irritating them and they need to kind of get it out. It's interesting. The more I see how it works and the more I've experienced it, it really allows a more purified focus on the ability of the player and also how the player can, you know, contribute to the team. So it's really interesting. I was, you know, a little suspect at the beginning, but now that I understand more and how that thing plays out, it could be helpful for some of the kids, especially the ones that are just kind of struggling a little bit and not for a real apparent reason.
Yeah. We need to bring that expert to North Dakota and speak with the coaches and have a player. And it's just not for hockey. It's for life. It's for other sports, whatever, management. Yeah. And we need to put on a big conference with her. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's already in play. She's going to teach at UND this spring. So, yeah, and there's a potential TV show there locally in Fargo that she's getting on. So, yeah, it's
check
in
it out.
play. You know,
I'll check it out. I'll check out those books.
Coach,
I haven't got a chance to read
Coach,
them yet.
this is kind of tough,
Yeah.
but I'm not that bright. So I go through life and I'm hiring sales guys. Say, what brought you to Fargo? What's her name?
That happens with some of the best players. You know, it turns out they got a girlfriend in the area.
Let's level with this. Let's talk real, right? The whole thing about college and everything that's going on is always about relationship. Has nothing to do with teammates, has nothing to do with school, has nothing to do with anything else. It comes down to when they're not on the 2-hour rink, where's the focus of 22 hours of their time? And you've got to coach your way through that. So good luck to you.
Yeah, it's funny you say the word relationship, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Not necessarily with a girl, though, but just relationship in life. I mean, that's, to me, the most important thing in the world is relationships with people and the benefits that can come from having good, genuine relationships with people. And I'm trying to get that with all my players. And that's the thing. Like, and a lot does come out when I'm talking to them one-on-one and just listening and asking questions and a lot of things that you would never guess in a million years. And yeah, these relationships, they go on past hockey. I'm going down to a wedding this weekend. Shout out Matt Shost, Robertson Cup North American Hockey League champion back in, I think, 09-10 with Bismarck Bobcats, is getting married up. I met him through a buddy named Cowboy I played hockey with at Hamlin, and those relationships. So I try to build those with the players, not only with myself, but really push them to build those relationships with each other. And then that usually translates to success on the ice. I mean, how many teams that have been championship teams have you heard say, that's the closest group of guys I've ever had? And then the ones that don't do very well, it's like, yeah, he's a good guy, or he's a good player. But it's like, okay, red flag on that kid.
So this is the basics of life. Doesn't matter where you are, but people don't care what you know until they know how much you
care.
If you don't have that posted up on the wall and your team, any player doesn't understand that, because and care isn't at the rink, right? Like care is if your buddy calls at 4 a.m. and said,
I need a ride home.
Here's the address.
Yeah.
You don't need to say I need a ride home. He says, here's the address. That's I mean, you go through life. If I would have got a text with a exclamation point, I would have been to pick up any of my kids, and they know the story. But life is not that difficult if you have accountability. Without accountability, you have stupidity. With stupidity, you have chaos. With chaos, you have losing. You can go back through the world. So, Jeff, that's all I know about the game of life. So
I like that.
The rest of it is hockey, and we try to be overcoached. We try to overskill. We try to overtrain, and we try to overlive, and then we have what? Disaster. So, Jeff,
I need another Hams. Hand me
There you go. Yeah. Go out and work
And if
hard.
you want to get college credit for that, you could mail it into our
Yeah, 1-800.
hang out with Dean Blaze, you would have got it. Hang
Yeah.
out with Herbie Brooks, you would have got it.
My cousin Eric Olin played for Dean Blaze at UNO, if I'm not mistaken. I think
Oh,
he was
really?
there
Oh, yeah.
back then. Yeah.
But Kirk, I got a question for you because I speak on then and now coaching, and I always think back in the day we took care of it in the locker room. We didn't need a coach in there to take care of business. Does that still transpire? Like I always say, a good captain's better than an assistant coach. And do they take care of business in the locker room today?
That's what we're pushing. You know, we got a pretty tough kid, Hanson O'Leary from Roseau. It's a Bufflin relation. So if you know the Bufflins up there, and can't remember what jobs he's done, if it's been like concrete pouring and different things, but he's a rough and tumble Roseau guy. They do have some of those tough guys over there, and so he's our captain. We got Ben Lidke and
Could
Cole
happen.
Lehman.
Could happen.
Yeah, so we push them
The suburb to the west.
we push them to take care of stuff in the locker room, and I think they've done a good job. We'll really amp it up here this back half because as we've seen, we got to get over the top, over the hump. Like we're right there, can beat anybody in the country. But the captains they're great. And one of my new assistant coaches, so we got Elliot Bates, who's great, doing a lot of recruiting this year. He's got his daughter, so he's got his family going on. Everybody that coaches for me ends up having a kid while they're coaching. You got Aaron Hurt,
and
Okeson,
daughters,
Bates.
right?
We call that stress.
Yeah, but
It
stress
means you
relief.
care.
But then Parker Simonson stepped up. He graduated the year before I got here, so he's been almost, he's an assistant coach, but he also can relate to the guys. So I've leaned on him heavily to get in there and push. And he's a rough and tumble, local.
The lumberman.
Yeah, the lumberman, Parker Simonson, great guy. He's doing a great job. Then we got Joey Fodstead and Will Kunka, who are young guys, helping out as well. So it's a good mix. But no, those captains are absolutely crucial, and you got to hold guys accountable. And if it has to get to me, I'll have a sit down with a guy and have a little bit of a heart-to-heart or give it the serious. I love just being, passionate and a lot of positive reinforcement. And you'd love to think that would get the guys going, and then some good, calm conversations. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you got to get a little more real.
Coach, Jeff's witnessed that. Sit down with a group of people and you go through, how does mom handle kids that make mistakes? It's different than how you coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you identify that, then the world's a little simpler for you. Remember, Jeff, we sat downstairs here a few years back, summer team, and the moms didn't know what to do when we were done because how do they handle strikes, right? Jeff makes a mistake. Dean makes a mistake. I make a mistake. I get sent to my room. I looked. I said, I'm a hockey coach. I'm not keeping track. If your kid's not paying attention, he's the third strike, you're out. Go to your room.
Yeah, it depends who your mom is. Like in Christmas Story when Ralphie says he heard the swear word from Flick. Like Flick really gets it from his mom over there, and I don't think Ralphie's mom would have done quite the same thing.
Life's pretty simple.
It can be. It can be. It's as simple if you make it.
Well, my prediction over the next 2 years, you're going to see the advent of Division II hockey.
Well, you got AIC going Division II right now, right?
Well, I think they're the second team at most at Division II level. At Division III, you're talking, 100-some teams?
No, it's low 90s, maybe high 80s. So there's 60-some D1s and only 80-something D3s. It's tough to get a spot.
So I see the NCAA allowing teams to opt into that Division II.
Well, Coach, here, let's look at this. The challenge is I don't know that AIC will have a hockey program because the only D2 team in the country is right around AIC. They play for nothing.
That's post-university, right? I believe.
They play for nothing. There's 9 teams. AIC would need to be the 10th, but there is no Division II hockey other than one league in the country with no affiliation to the NCAA to win anything. The challenge being you as D3 are now allowed to move up to D2 in my understanding because there's nothing there for you to go.
Well, and so with D2, they're giving out athletic scholarships, right? And yeah, I mean, that's the big difference. We'll see if any D3 schools would want to do that. What I'm interested in is just how it's all going to shake out with ACHA, and you see how much those programs are growing. If Division One could expand to say the SEC, or there used to be the Pac-12, now there's only 2 teams in it, but the further Big Ten teams, SEC, ACC, some of those big schools, it'd be great for them to get Division One hockey programs, and I think they could support it. And then they need somebody to coach those too.
I think the question will be, if you have NIL in D1 and you have scholarship in D2, at what point does D3 get opened up so that they can actually go run and operate with both of those models? Because you know this as well as I do, the MIAC would dominate Division II hockey if you walked into that realm with the amount of money sitting in the coffers at those 10 schools.
Yeah, I guess
it depends
on how much.
Stupid.
It depends on how much money's in the coffers. I'll have to go and try to snoop around a little bit. We could sure use some more support at our games. Would be big. Bring in some money from ticket sales. Maybe if they started selling beers, that could be one thing too. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but junior hockey, that's how you get the people coming in. They have beers and they have a good time, and in the MIAC, you got to sneak them in.
I've got to be careful, but we should talk, Coach. But
especially
your
college.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe your marketing department at the college gets a percentage of the ticket revenue so that they can go in and do their case study and pack the house. Come on, talk to a marketing guy from UND.
Hey, our new president, Colin Irvin, he's a great guy, huge sports fan, and I think he's gonna make some changes. He's an awesome president.
Gateway Chevrolet, our intermission sponsor. We appreciate Gateway Chevrolet, where you can save big on a Chevy Silverado, Equinox, or Blazer. Go online at fargochevrolet.com. I was at Gateway and ended up with a vehicle. A little shout out to Tim and Kevin over there at Gateway. But Gateway Chev, if you're in given the current conditions, you probably need to get a 4-wheel drive, either one of those Silverados, Equinoxes, or Blazers to get through the rest of the winter. So we'll be back here on the Hockey Guys.
Merry Christmas to one and to all. Eddie.
That sounds like Jeff picked that music out a little bit of
Jay
kinda,
Giles Band.
That's right.
little out there. Fargo Force, thank you. Bagan Strinden, thank you. Winks, hello. Dakota Refrigeration, Welton's Tire Service, Carpet World, Halstonson, Askew Wealth Management, and the Red Pepper. Now you have a story that probably is going to go where at the end of the night you were at the Red Pepper with, your future bride. But go ahead. Tell us a story, Jeff. You've been silent for a long time.
No, I'll tell you 2 stories. Now you had a Red Pepper in there. Pierre Lamoureux and I were at the Red Pepper, and some guy was giving Pierre crap, and Pierre lifted him up and threw him over that 5 foot, 4 foot tall bench between the 2 bars. Just picked him up and threw him over. Then the guy went under and then went after Pete, but then the owner escorted us out the back door while the police came in the front door. That's number 1. Hey, listen, my grandson, my daughter and son-in-law last night pulled them aside and said, Will, there is no such thing as Santa Claus. We just got to come clean with you. Yeah, and
for the young kids listening to the hockey guys, your parents need to send you out to the backyard rink to work on your skills if you ever want to play college hockey.
And
don't tell that to the kids in Finland because Santa Claus does come from Lapland.
Well, and
Wills isn't from Lapland.
A funny thing, Phil, I told these guys, don't interrupt me. Let me just get through my story. Eddie did it 3 times now, All right. So they pulled my grandson aside and
it's easy to get under the skin of lawyers.
And had to have the discussion that it's not real, but now he's part of the secret. And he goes, but what about the Santa that comes to Papa's house? And my daughter said, oh, that's just Papa's friend Dean.
Dean. Hey, listen, I want you guys to say hi to Spence and wish him a Merry Christmas. He's standing right here.
Hey, Spence, Merry Christmas.
Happy
Merry Christmas.
And Santa is real, by the way.
Exactly, is real.
Yeah.
I believe.
I believe. Addison, are you a believer?
Of course I am. I'd have to be crazy not to.
Not away.
Yep. Well, Spence,
Gooner,
nice,
good to hear
nice
from you.
catching up with you a few weeks ago. Really was nice.
The Goon.
Yeah. Well, we're going to learn how to do some podcasts, so I got to call it a day. And Kirk, I'll have Stacy reach out to you. I think it's worth a conversation. She might have some things that can help you. And guys, Merry Christmas,
Merry
all
Christmas.
of you.
Merry
And,
Christmas,
Merry Christmas.
guys.
Thank you.
You're cutting
we'll
out.
See you next week. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
All right. Now, Kirk, I didn't ask you this question. What's been the biggest surprise that you've seen with the teams that Concordia has played against in the first half of the season?
I kind of got to give the same answer as Eddie. Not really anything. Like just the parity that's there. All these teams are good. You can't take any team light. And even when I was playing, the MIAC was going to be a dogfight every night. I remember Chris Berenguer, Smokey Bear, we called him. Senor Smoke is his dad, the Twins pitcher, Juan Berenguer. But every night was going to be a battle, and it just got even more so. The talent level is so high, and you can't take a night off. Even if you're playing your best game, you might lose. But I do like our best game. We got a great chance to beat anybody. So what surprised me, I guess, isn't really a surprise, just how tough it is in the parity. The other thing on the recruiting side is going to be interesting with the CHL players now being eligible.
That
to play
was
D1.
my next question to you is opening up at least another 100 spots.
Well, I've heard both sides. So some advisors are like, I really don't think it's going to make a difference. The guys that go to CHL, they want to be up there. They don't want anything to do with college. Then other guys, and from what I've seen, it's like, well, every time a CHL guy commits to a D1 school, that's a guy whose spot is gone, who would have been going there otherwise. So I don't know what the numbers are at right now, but I remember there's a kid going to Bemidji State who's a goalie, and it's like that would probably have been a Minnesota goalie, So now where's that Minnesota goalie going to go? Hopefully to us, right? Concordia.
And Denver has signed a commit from the CHL.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen.
For next year.
But on the flip side, remember that a college player that's sitting down, not getting an opportunity to play, that passed up on the C, now has an opportunity to go north, and that's gonna offset it. I think we're
the
gonna
young
see,
guys do. Yeah,
I think we're going to see equal. I think you're going to lose X amount of people are going to come down, and then they're going to have to backfill positions. And there's guys that said, I don't want to give up my college eligibility. Now they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now we have a way more competitive field. When you're looking, 18, 19, 20, now 21 with 2 years of juniors, you're going to go where you get the most what?
Playing time. Yeah. So there's going to be even more bouncing around than there already was. Guys going from D1 up to CHL. You see sometimes guys are D1 and then they're back to USHL and then they're at their new team. I was just in the transfer portal last night and there was a kid like that played a little D1, then back in the USHL, and then
so
who
now
knows where he's going now.
The question is, Coach, how much time do you have to really get to know your player?
Yes.
Maybe
well,
6
depends.
months, maybe 4 months, maybe 2 months, maybe you don't even get a chance at all.
It depends what level, and yeah.
But I'm going to throw this out because you got the best bird dog around you, Elliot Bates. That crazy guy is everywhere. I go, hey, Elliot, how you doing? Oh, I'm up in Saskatoon. I mean, what I love about the metro area, he's keeping the pulse on those kids to hopefully go to your school of the upper end players. And I'm just a big Elliot Bates fan. I mean, that guy is working on everywhere, and he's got a young one now. So
yeah,
he does a great job.
Bates's awesome. So, we got Will Hofer as a local guy who's committed to us, our first commit of the year. Bunch of other ones. There's a couple guys playing in Portage.
Is that his brother at South Shanley?
Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure because I just did a game the other day.
I got to get to know him better still.
No, my bad. Sorry.
Recruiting and
great family.
But we got Nolan Nenau, Cam Bollinger up in Portage, Noel Olsenowski up in Selkirk. So there's a bunch of guys up in the Manitoba League. There's guys in the North American League. There's guys in the NCDC. And the NA3, USPHL, I mean, you name it, and Batesy's got a pretty good beat on all of them. A lot of good North Dakota, Minnesota guys, of course, in this area.
Jeff, when we came out, there was only one. I mean, these kids today, they have so many choices. Who do they trust? Who do they believe? That's the question. So, where do you listen to with all the chatter, all the places, all the teams, all the leagues? For your players, have you ever sat down and say, hey, you finally get to be where you don't have confusion? How does that make you feel?
I mean,
think about that.
I haven't said those exact words, but yeah, Concordia, it feels like home. Feels like home. It's a great spot. You come up here and you get the best of both worlds, tucked over in little small town Moorhead, or it's a big city for a Warroad guy like us, but you get to be over in Moorhead, nice campus, small school, and then you come over to Fargo and it's sort of the big city. But yeah, it's a great spot. So I think the guys feel comfortable.
Fantastic school.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
graduate from Concordia and you get that ring on your finger, you could walk into any business, right?
Yep.
And they're going to hire you.
Yeah, Kerry Eads. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, Coach Eads said that exact same thing. Eddie graduated from Concordia, and he's got a house on Detroit Lakes now. And Coach Eads was talking to me last year. It's like I didn't realize how many people are Cobber grads that are doing really, really well in the business world. So it's true.
Well, the educational world, every other ring. When I was assistant principal and taught, they're all beaming that ring. A lot of people in education.
Well, listen, I didn't get a chance, but we'll bring you on again. Wait a minute. That's a wrap for this show, and we want to wish everyone
Valley Imports
a Merry Christmas.